This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Geno Barber, a co-founder of Jake and Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joshua Ryan Ruse, and the community director of Jake and Gino. Josh, how you doing today, Josh?
Gino, doing well, man. I see you decided to copy me with the blue polo, just a couple shades lighter. I'm still coming off the high of last week and a great buy right boot camp in Atlanta. It was good seeing you, the team, and a lot of the students. Bill Ham and our team definitely brought the fire, and there was a lot of education and networking happening there. What's going on in your world?
Well, Josh, I had to get a haircut like you too. I had to get the hair slicked back. Without the hair, the shirt don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying, bro? Listen, everybody, we're live on Facebook right now. We have a 5-day multifamily property challenge. Go take a look at the group. We're doing a 5-day multifamily property challenge in 2 weeks. See how to buy a property from the buy right all the way to syndicate right and taking a deal down. We're going to be going through 5 days on Facebook Live. Josh, we've got an awesome guest today, Josh. That's all I got to say. Please introduce him.
Yeah, so real quick on that Facebook group, if you look for multifamily property challenge, you go ahead and see it, and we'll accept you in the group there, and we'll provide a lot of value. But today's guest, we have Tim Lyons. It's a little bit about Tim. He's currently a lieutenant in the New York City Fire Department. Until recently, he also worked part-time as an emergency room RN at a level 1 trauma center for 8 years. He brings years of real-world management and leadership experience to his real estate investment career. Now, his initial goal with real estate was to create passive income and, in turn, be able to spend more time with his wife and 3 girls. After partnering on a multifamily property, he saw firsthand the power of real estate investing as an opportunity to create passive income and build wealth for his family. He started Cityside Capital with the goal of not only growing his own portfolio, but also to help others realize the power that real estate investing can have on creating wealth. He graduated from Providence College in 2005 and can often be spotted in the crowd when the Friars play in Madison Square Garden, New York City. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Tim.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. What a great introduction. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, you know what's great about it, Josh? Tim Lyons joins Jake and Gino right before COVID hits, right? And the crazy thing is it the right time? Is it not the right time? Well, he shattered that because he had all the excuses to say, I'm going to quit. But when I've gotten on the calls with Tim, he had his clarity. He had the reason why he's doing this. So it's important, everybody out there, stop making excuses and say it's not the right time, because it's only the right time when it's the right time for you. So that's one of the big golden nuggets I want everyone to take from this podcast today, is that you need to know when it's right for you. And Tim could have made all the excuses. He probably came down with Corona. He works down in Corona, Queens. Can you imagine that? Driving 99 miles each day, doing 24-hour shifts. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tim because I've gotten to know him. I love his story. I love the fact that he didn't make any excuses. He probably got Corona during it. He felt like crap. He went to stay up in Connecticut. He sheltered from his kids and his family. And all the while, he's still getting on the calls. He's still talking to Gino. He's still doing the homework. He's still flying to places and getting down to events. He's still putting in LOIs. He could have said, you know what? I'm going to take a break from this. But Tim didn't do that. You know why? Because he's make it happen. He's got his reason why. So I don't want to put any more words in Tim's mouth. Tim, give the listeners your story. Why multifamily, and how you got into it, but more importantly, why you became a firefighter and that journey.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. That was really powerful what you said, right? Starting this journey right as COVID's hitting the country and shutting everything down. It was crazy. But I became a New York City fireman 2 weeks after graduating college. And I had an uncle that was hurt really bad in 9/11. He was a captain in the New York City Fire Department. He was buried under Tower 2. And he was luckily pulled out alive. I think back then, I made the decision that I wanted to be a New York City fireman. I don't know what it was, but it really started when Santa Claus bought me a police scanner back when I was 8, and I attached it to my bike, and I used to chase the fire engines all over town, and I could never shake it. So, but anyway, became a New York City fireman, loved that job, loved the guys that I work with. Worked in some really special places, and guys were motivated. When I got to the firehouse, I had no idea that pretty much everybody had a second job. A lot of guys did construction. A lot of guys did electrician, roofing, guys that owned their own businesses. And I was like, whoa, like these guys are motivated. I got to step my game up. So I did a bunch of odd jobs, ended up going back to nursing school, spent 3 years of my life going back to nursing school while married with the little tiny babies at home. It was tons of fun, right? But I committed to that and it made that happen. So I think, then, whatever, I worked as a nurse on the side and it was great. I was living the W-2 dream. But at the end of the day, when my babies were small, they had no idea I was leaving. So if I worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week, it wasn't really a big deal because my wife got to stay home and the bills were getting paid and life was good. All of a sudden, I got 3 girls now, 9, 6, and 1. And when I come home, it's a big deal. And if when I was I would come home from a 24. And maybe the next day I had to work a 12-hour shift. So I'm leaving at 6:30 in the morning and getting home at almost 8 o'clock at night. And Gino, you got a bunch of kids. At 8 o'clock at night with a bunch of little kids, it's witching hour at the house. So they were starting to feel it. Dad's never home. And, my wife was feeling it. She's got the burden of the kids and running the house. And, we kind of just said, like, something's got to change. And, I had an interest in real estate for a long time. And it was always one of those things where I was, telling myself internally, when I retire from the firehouse, then I'll have the money, then I'll have the time, and then I'll get into real estate. It was always like that. They call it the arrival fallacy or the destination fallacy of, I'll wait till then, I'll wait till this. And, so summer of 2019, I'm on the beach in the Outer Banks, North Carolina with my family and my kids and my brother and my dad, everybody's there. And I'm reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and I can't put it down. So, I had a beer in my hand. We're building a sandcastle with one hand. I got the book in the other. I just simply can't put it down. 2 days later, I'm done with it. And I turned to my wife on the beach and I say, babe, I'm going to be a real estate investor. And she's like, yeah, Tim, sweet, whatever, man, that was July 2019. By November of 2019, I closed on my first 3-family property. Because I was committed. I was going to make that happen. I figured everything out from podcasts, from books. If you can see my bookshelf next to me, it's packed, everything real estate. I was just powering through material. I turned off the Pandora. I turned off all the noise. I turned off the news. I was addicted to the news before this. And I just committed to the content. So you get the 3-family. I have the proof of concept, but more importantly, my wife had the proof of concept. So she saw, how it worked. And then all of a sudden, I'm into 2020, we do a little bit better on our tax return. And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to buy 30 of these 3-family properties, but they're 110 years old. And, it just wasn't going to be scalable. So my multifamily journey kind of got started then. Cause I said to myself, how am I going to scale this? How can I work full time as a New York City firefighter doing my 24s, but how can I make this workable?
So Tim, I got to ask you a question. Why didn't you ask Santa Claus to send you Rich Dad Poor Dad instead of a police scanner? Things would be a lot different right now, don't you think?
100%, but listen, I mean, I came from a background where my parents worked super hard.
Yes.
And, but there was a scarcity mindset and it was like everybody else, that you hear on podcasts, it was go to school, get good grades, pick out a good college. We'll figure out a way to pay for it. Get good grades in college, get a good job, pack as much money as you can into your 401k, 457, 403b. And then whatever you have left over, go get an IRA and put another $6,000 into that, and then one day you'll be, reaping the benefits of this retirement account,
We can't have that one day mentality worked 30 and 40 years ago, but that one day mentality does not work now. Tim, I want to ask you, what are the problems were you experiencing before joining Jake and Gino? It sounds like the scalability. It sounds like you had the proof of concept, but these 100-year-old buildings, the CapEx tsunami that you see coming at you, right? If you start buying these, there goes the cash flow. What other experience specifically were you experiencing before joining the community?
So, everybody hears about real estate, how you can make all this money, right? And then, so I wanted to dip my toe in the water. So I started going to local meetups, and you go into a meetup and you got everyone from wholesalers to flippers to single family properties to condo owners, and there's really nobody in multifamily there. But that's where I was kind of focused on. Like that's what I wanted to learn more about. So The learning curve is kind of steep because, you can figure out 1 to 4 families, there's plenty of books, plenty of material. And, I had bought and sold 2 houses by then. So I knew the process with multifamily, with underwriting, with, property management, spreadsheets. I mean, everything was totally different. So, I realized very quickly that if I was going to be a W-2 employee, I was going to need to collapse that time frame of education. And that's when I started investigating programs like, Jake and Gino. And, I just, it's an investment, right? So everyone that I tell that I'm, what I'm doing, I got like half and half responses, like, oh my God, you're crazy for doing that. Or, tell me more. I need to know more about that. And, before I became a part of Jake and Gino, I was thinking about going back to get my master's degree as a nurse practitioner. And I'm facing 60 grand in education costs or 80 grand in education costs, only to find myself back into the W-2 grind, So, when people get stuck on the cost or, of education, really, I mean, it sounds so cliche, Gino, but everyone always says it. It's an investment in yourself. And it goes back to, what do you want? What do you desire? What do you want to have in life? And how are you going to go chase it down and go get it?
So I just saved Tim Lyons $60,000 on education costs, Josh. Should we get like maybe a 10% rip on that? That'd be nice, right, Tim?
That'd be awesome, yeah.
You know what I love about you, Tim? I jumped on the call right away. Everybody, Tim was prepared. Tim had his why. Tim was working very hard. I think a couple of the things that I've seen Tim grow through the community was that education. It's not just a couple of videos. It's being able to jump on a call with the coach, being able to ask questions, being able to walk through the process, getting on the call with me multiple times and saying, hey, how do I do this? How do I look at that? How can you help me set my goals? And even more importantly, hey, there's some amazing people in the community. Maybe I can reach out and leverage them. It's other people's money, but it's other people's time, other people's partnerships, all to that. Tim, speak to that as far as finding partners in the community, underwriting deals and learning the education. I'm speaking for you because I know your journey that you've gone through, and I've seen you at a couple of the events, but speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, and it all started with Josh and Dylan, like on the phone calls in the beginning, because you have so many questions. How does this work? What's the community like? And all this stuff. And I actually, I reached out to some of the community members before I joined, and I said, "What's your experience? How does it work? Blah blah blah," and nothing but great feedback. So I jumped in and I did it right. And, in a few short months, I'm down in Knoxville, Tennessee, shaking hands with all these people that I'm meeting virtually through Zoom calls and through the community Facebook page and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, it's starting to click, like, partnerships, going bigger, going faster. How are we going to find money in the community? Oh, there's money here. Or who has deals? Who has deal flow? How can I add value to that person? Maybe I'm a good underwriter. Maybe I'm good at capital raising. But, all these things you read about and you learn about through the community, all of a sudden they materialize and you're like, okay, I'm here. Everybody else is here. We're all like-minded. We're all in this together and we want to help each other. And it's amazing. I mean, the partnerships in this community are just, to me, what makes this community great. And it's exactly why I pulled the trigger.
So Tim, let me ask this question. When did you realize that you could do this? Because there comes an aha epiphany moment, like, wow, this is not a pie in the sky. I could still do 1 to 4s, but maybe I can do a 20 unit on my first deal. And now at you're raising $5.6 million in your next deal within like 8 months of joining the community. When was that aha moment for you that you can do it?
Yeah. So, you had mentioned it right in the beginning. I had gotten sick from, working in New York City. I wasn't feeling great and I didn't know if it was COVID or not, whatever. So I ended up moving into my mother-in-law's house about 90 miles away, and she moved into my house and to help my wife and kids. So I'm crushing through material. And one day I'm talking to either Josh or my deal coach, and he said, "Man, you got to get on the phone." And I'm like, well, man, and I was nervous, right? I was so nervous. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to just get on the phone. And I researched my area at the time, and I called the guy who I saw his name on every single on listing. And I just called him, and he was like the biggest broker in the city. And I just started talking to him. I talked to him for an hour. And the next day he sent me a portfolio of over 500 units, over 16 properties. And I remember we had a Monday call, Gino, and I sent you a private text through the through the Zoom link, and I said, Gino, I got a off-market deal, 500 units over 16 properties. This whole thing works. And you said, no kidding. No kidding. I know it works.
Well, you need that, right? Because if you're on an island all by yourself, first of all, you probably don't pick up the call to call the broker. The second thing is everybody out there, and I challenge you, you probably don't even know what to say to the broker to sound intelligent, which is really important. Then you're going from second base, you're going to third base. The broker's actually sending you the deal. And then to hit a home run, you jump on a call with somebody who's done it, with an accountability coach, with a deal expert coach, with myself, and walk through the process. And it's like, wow, going from buying a 1 family to a 3 family to looking at 500 units is like the aha moment that I can do this. And it's everyone out there. It's not the point where you buy those 500 units or you don't. The point is that you're actually offer that opportunity. I'll give you a quick story, Tim and Josh. Same thing happened to me about syndication. About 4 years ago, I am in the library. Jake goes, dude, there's a $55 million deal. I immediately felt like throwing up when he said that. We're going to put an offer. I'm like, where the hell am I going to get $10 million? And he's like, well, raise it. That's Jake. See the wall? Let's run through the wall. Me, before I run through the wall, I got to test it. I'll run through it, right? I'm not, I'm committed and figure it out. And that was the turning point for me for syndication. I'm like, you know what? If other people can do it out there, I have to figure it out. We're going to put in the offer. We're going to commit. And it does, just because you put in the offer, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the offer accepted and then LOI. You walk through the whole process, but you start figuring it out. And that was the aha moment for me of getting into bigger deals. And it's not just getting the deal. It's now that Tim can call a broker, he has the confidence that every time he calls a broker, he'll know what to expect. He'll know that it works. And he will definitely go and pick up that phone every time he sees a deal. So that's really, really important. Tim, whatever ended up happening with that deal? I remember speaking to you about it. You were looking at it. It didn't work. There were different components to it. Whatever ended up happening?
Yeah, so we actually ended up partnering with somebody in the community, and we spent about a month or a month and a half underwriting a ton of these properties. And my brother, who's my business partner, and another guy from the community, they went down and they walked all the properties and everything, and we just couldn't come to an agreement on price, right? So it was right at the beginning of COVID. So I think we wanted the COVID premium reduction, and they wanted the pre-COVID prices, and it just didn't work out.
So what did you learn? What did you learn from that process? From doing the process, probably the property tours, probably, networking, partnering with somebody, working with your brother. That's got to be challenging. And Mark, if you're out there, I love you, bro, but you can be challenging just like me. So it's part of life, right? I mean, like, can you work with your brother? I have a great working relationship with my brother. I've been in business with him for 25 years, but there's challenges out there. I mean, I'm just as much a pain in the ass as he is. I'll be the first one to admit that. So what did you learn from this process?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, big shout out to my brother Greg. He's in Virginia, I'm in New York, and we talk nonstop. And this has really been a wild ride, but it's been a great ride, and I'm having a blast. So, but anyway, so what did I learn was, I've never been on the phone so much in my life because I had never done this. So I wanted to get it right. I was talking to property managers. I was talking to lenders, calling them out of the blue. They're trying to get PPP loans through. And I'm like, hey, my name is Tim, and I'm a real estate investor, and I want to talk about loans, whatever. But it worked, right? I mean, I was getting terms. I was getting, they were playing with me too. They're like, all right, how about a 20-year amortization? I'm like, well, how about a 25? And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, we can do 25. How about 12 months of IO? And I'm like, well, how about 24 months of IO? Yeah, yes, we can do that too, So it was just getting comfortable with the terminology, with what's possible, because you hear through the community what other people are getting in different markets, and that gave me the confidence to ask for it. Because if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it. So it was just, and talking to property managers, hey, either negotiating the percentages, or how does your model work, and then we ended up having property managers come with us on property tours, so it was developing those relationships, and it was just that 6, 7, 8 weeks right in the beginning of this was just amazing. And I got to tell you, Gino, it's because when you join the community, you have access to the online platform. And, there's all these videos, and they're all broken down, buy right, manage right, finance right. And, it is amazing what you can learn if you're committed. And, I got a whole notebook full of notes here from Jake and Gino, and I refer back to it all the time. And so that gave me the confidence to go talk to these people, because once you have that knowledge from within the community, now you can take it and apply it.
Tim, can you give the listeners a couple tips on those naysayers? Like for me, my mom didn't know about me partnering with Jake, because the first thing she's like, you're putting, how did she say it? She said to me, Tim, you've got 6 mouths to feed. You're taking too much risk back in 08. Now I look back at it. If I hadn't done it, I'd be in New York with a restaurant that I'd have to be sitting people out in the parking lot. In October, my business would absolutely be crushed. And now she's like, well, what do you do now? So I didn't tell her until I had 200 units. And then I'm like, I'm ready to get going. I'm ready to leave the restaurant. And she looked at me all bewildered. And she said, huh? I said, Mom, for the last 2 years, you've been walking by me telling me I work too hard. And I'm working during lunch and I'm working at home. What do you say to the naysayers that say to you, you got to be crazy? Multifamily? What are you thinking?
So, Gino, I wish you can come visit me in the firehouse, because I get called Bernie Madoff. I got a Ponzi scheme going.
You're a little better looking than Bernie Madoff. No offense. You're a little younger and a little better looking. So,
the guys, to the brothers in the fire department, I love you guys. But I have a lot of naysayers, right? They're like, dude, what are you doing? How does this work? Because and even like raising money for deals that we're doing now is, for the longest time, I was Tim the fireman and Tim the nurse, right?
Yes.
Now I'm Tim the multifamily guy. Like, how does that work? But a lot of people don't want to dip their toe in the water. A lot of people want to be in real estate. They want to invest, but they're comfortable with the 401k. They can log in. They can see the returns. How did I do today versus yesterday? Multifamily real estate, that sounds a little bit complicated. So I'm just I'm going to put my walls up and I don't want to talk about it. But when I'm doing it, people, I'm in the supermarket now, or I go to the gym, and people are like, yo, I see your website. I see your Facebook post, your LinkedIn, tell me more about that. Let's get a cup of coffee, whatever, because people are watching. And listen, I think everybody should know that real estate's a marathon and not a sprint. I'm not going to go buy the Aston Martin tomorrow, but maybe one day, but it's honestly, you always say it's education times action equals results. And I'm doing the education, I'm taking the action, and I can now say that I own 46 units. I went from 0 to 46 in less than a year. So
Tim, I'm going to call you Timothy Madoff Lyons. That's your nickname for me from now on. And he's the total polar opposite of Mr. Madoff. I can say that. There's 2 things I need to say. This is what Josh taught me a couple weeks ago on a sales training. If you're living out there in fear, you are not going to take action. Once you start getting angry about your situation, there's nothing wrong with anger. It's still a catabolic level of energy. Once you get angry about your situation, angry about having to drive down to Corona, angry about getting home at 8 p.m., angry about your 401k becoming a 201k, angry about spending $60,000 on your education only to continue the rat race, angry about working 60 hours in the restaurant and having to work on the holidays and the weekends, angry about missing all your friends and all your family's events. When you get angry, that's when you take action. So if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're afraid, and let me tell you, I was afraid because I identified as the pizza guy. I was the moron with the chef coat and I was dirty. Tim is the firefighter. That's when he identified as. Once we made the shift and said, no, we're going to become investors. We're multifamily investors. That's when the light goes off. That's when we get angry. And that's when we start taking action. So if anybody's out there on the fence being fearful, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're not going to take action. Realize that. You need to get angry about your situation, and you need to find the right community. You need to find the right steps, and you need to stop making excuses and go out there and take action. Did I sum that up good for you, Josh?
All right, Tim, I want to get into your first deal, that 46 unit, because that's really exciting. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So when I said 46, I'm adding in my 3-family. I can't discount my small multifamily. So,
dude, nice. That 3-family, $7,000-8,000 a month. Nothing wrong with that. Pays your health care, right? Once you become an entrepreneur. Yes.
So this first deal, when I'm in the community, when you join the community, you get a couple of coaches, right? So 3 things: you get an accountability pod, which is your coworker, your people. We meet every 2 weeks. It's an amazing accountability pod. Second, you get a deal coach, right? And then you have an accountability coach. That's a much more experienced member of the community, and it's Darren. Darren's awesome. So I just hit it off with my deal coach. We're both New Yorkers. I don't know what it was. We just totally hit it off. And he's mentioned to me that I remind him of himself 10 years ago. So there was an opportunity that he gave to me to kind of join him on a much larger deal than I could have done by myself. And it was awesome. And I learned so much from that deal. So basically it was a 43 unit B++ property. It was located in York, Pennsylvania. And it was a $5.7 million deal, about 132 a door, I believe. And we were able to raise nearly $3 million in a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are starting to educate themselves. They're starting to move away from the retail brokerages and the stock market roller coaster. I mean, people are just they're getting nauseous over it. And then all of a sudden they start opening the door to tax benefits and cash flow and all this stuff, and they want in. So, I mean, if anybody is thinking about syndication, I mean, we raised that money in a matter of days, 2 Zoom calls and a bunch of phone calls, and boom, we were there. So that was a 43 unit. We just closed that on August the 31st. So, you know, and now we're on to the second deal, which is much larger, and it's a much larger raise. But I think, you know, having that confidence that I can bring a quality product to, a quality opportunity to investors in my inner circle, my family and friends. I mean, think about the level of trust. And Gino always talks about this. I don't care what podcast he's on, whether it's his or somebody else's. There's 3 things that you need to raise money, right, Gino? And it's people need to know you, like you, and trust you. And, you know, that's a lot. I mean, it's a big responsibility. To take other people's money and to buy real estate. So that's the part that I love, though. I love educating the people on what's possible, what's out there, and what we're doing and how it works. And people are loving it. I got to be honest with you. It's really exciting.
So Tim, before we go to the short answer questions, I want you to tell the listeners out there, okay, I've heard Tim's story. I'm at the anger phase. How do I get into my first deal? What are the steps I need to take to get into my first deal?
So it really starts with, I think, mindset and education, right? So it's funny. A lot of the real estate podcasts start with mindset and personal development. And at first I was a little bit, I guess I had some limiting beliefs, on personal development. And, you start hearing the same names, Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are these guys talking about, man? And then I also would hear a lot about partnerships. And I'm like, I really don't want to partner because I want to have my own property and I want to do my own thing and I want to be in charge. And Jake talks about the I'm a mentality. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do everything. But it starts with mindset. It's having a clear goal about what you want to do, how you want to do it, and then taking action towards it. And Josh always says, done is better than perfect, right, Josh?
Love it.
So it's really mindset. Then it's education. Like there's so many rabbit holes that I've gone down by reading books. I mean, reading about taxes. I mean, I never thought I'd read about taxes. Reading about real estate finance and underwriting. And I never thought I'd pick up a computer and start doing spreadsheets ever again in my life after college. And now I love it. I dive into it because it's amazing the power of real estate. And so I would say mindset and education.
I love that. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors.
Are you looking for ways to improve your life?
Here at Jake and Gino, our mission is to empower students through financial education and the vehicle of multifamily investing.
Yes, Jake. We agree that a person with financial intelligence can change the world for the better.
We've created our proprietary 3-step framework, buy right, manage right, and finance right, that we teach to our community. This framework, along with education, our one-on-one mentorship, on-site boot camps, and the amazing community has propelled our students to massive success.
We've all been there. We've had so many students that have been able to shift their mindset, overcome limiting beliefs, and set a clear path to achieve their goals. Whether you're currently fixing and flipping, wholesaling, or buying single-family rentals, and you know that multifamily investing is the right vehicle for you, I encourage you to visit jakeandgino.com/apply to schedule your complimentary consultation with our team. And I want to let you know this isn't a high-pressure sales call. It's really just a discovery call to get to know each other better and see if we're a good fit for working together. And if for any reason we're not a good fit, our team has tons of resources we will share with you to help you along your journey.
If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels, go to jakeandgino.com/apply and schedule your call now.
All right, Tim, I got some personal development questions for you here. So if you could say your favorite book you've ever read, what do you think it is and why?
A personal development book?
Any book.
It's well, personal development book is going to be another shout out to Gino for Mindset by Carol Dweck. So I listened to that on Audible at first, and I had to go and re-listen to it. And then I actually got the hard copy, and I started reading the hard copy and marking it up because it's that powerful. It's just an amazing book. My second favorite book is called The Wealthy Gardener by I think John Sofiurik, and it's very similar to The Honeybee. It's a parable about everything we talk about: building wealth, committing, taking action, having goals, all that stuff. So it's an amazing book.
Nice. What about best habit for success?
I wake up early, dude. I got the 3 girls at home and the W-2, so I try to get up at 5 a.m. every morning to get a couple hours of work in before everybody wakes up. Get a workout in, just get my day started right. I've found that I need to write everything down. I used to operate with everything in my head, and I'm human, so I forget some stuff sometimes. And but I have a habit now of just writing everything down, scheduling everything, and getting back to people. Like I used to sometimes have text messages just wallowing in my phone. And, in this business, it's all about relationships and being dependable and reliable and just following up with people. I mean, my coach is a prolific follow up person, so it's just doing the small things like that, I think, and having that relationship with people means everything in this business.
Man, I love that. So Tim, I got to give it to you. There's been a lot of golden nuggets in this episode, and you're absolutely crushing it. And Gino, man, why don't you sum some of the takeaways up for us?
So you have a young Tim Lyons back in the probably early 80s, wakes up Christmas morning, and he sees underneath the Christmas tree a scanner. Gets on his bike the next few years, running around chasing fire trucks. And he says, this is what I want to do. I don't know why. I just love this. He joins the fire department after 9/11, which is a transformational part in his life. And I think a lot of New Yorkers. And he starts having a family, and he gets into it, and he sees that family life is really challenging between working a tough job. We haven't discussed the challenging job when he runs into a home that's burning with couches that are full of chemicals and they're burning, and he's breathing that in, and he's got soot and he's got black, and it's just life threatening every day he's on the job. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know if he's going to come home, and he's going through that, and he's saying, you know what, I'm on the police fire department 12 years, 13 years. I've got 8 years to go. He's got that W-2 mentality. I can hang out for another 8 years. But instead of thinking like that, he says to himself, I have an option. I just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad on the beach, and there is a different way. I can start thinking differently. I don't have to think like the crowd, and I'm going to go out and make it happen. I'm going to buy a 3-family. And you know what? I did. And what's the next step now? I want to get into these bigger properties because the 3-family is great, but how am I going to buy 20 or 30 of these things? And that's the hard part. And most people would get stuck there and make excuses. And then, all of a sudden, he joins Jake and Gino. Corona hits. Another stumbling point where Tim can throw up his hands and go, I can't do this right now. I'm sick. I'm living on upstairs in the garage of my mother-in-law's house, and my family's sheltered from me. I can't go to work. What am I going to do? Instead, I'm going to start working and doing 6 or 7 hours of work a day to get through the entire education. And then what happens? I get a phone call from a broker with a portfolio of over 500 units. 3 months ago, I wouldn't know what the hell to do. But now I've got the education. You know what? I'm going to spend some time with the broker. And an hour's passed, and I'm not normally on the phone, but this is actually fun. I'm diving into it. And I'm actually going to these events that Jake and Gino has, and I'm meeting students. And I'm getting out of my comfort zone, which is the most important thing. And I'm pretty angry about my situation. And I'm actually going to go out and create a plan. And I'm going to shatter a lot of my limiting beliefs by talking to community members, whether it's I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough experience. all of that can stop Tim, which stops a lot of people, but he had enough clarity and he knew what his why was. His why is his family, and his why is his financial future, and his why is not that he doesn't like his job, but he knows that he can be doing something different when he retires. And the amazing thing about it, everybody, is he's creating a plan, and it's so empowering to know that if he wants to leave the fire department next year, he can, but he doesn't have to. And when we have choices and we become autonomous, and our choices become autonomous, and we can do what we want to, that's the most empowering thing in life. So I think that's what really resonates with me, is Tim's not making any excuses about his situation. He's going out there, educating himself, pushing himself out of his comfort zone. And now one of the most important things is he's starting to identify as an investor, where other people would see him as someone working in the fire department. Now they see him as somebody investing in real estate. And importantly, he's telling people about it. And his mindset is shifting from a limiting belief of there's not enough money to how do I raise capital, to all of a sudden, I've got an amazing opportunity for people to make money with me. I've got a fiduciary responsibility. Know, like, and trust. That's what they got to know about me. And I need to know this stuff. I need to know it inside and out. I need to know what I'm investing in. And how did I do that? I've done all the hard work in the back end, and I'm working on my mindset continually, and I'm working on my education continually, my relationships, learning the market, and continue to build that. So that's been an amazing transformation. And everybody, it hasn't been that long. It's been 9 months through a pandemic. So I have to ask everybody out there, and I got to challenge everybody out there, what are you doing during this pandemic? Are you making excuses? Are you listening to the merry-go-round in the news? Or are you working on yourself? That's up to you. I challenge everybody out there right now. See what you've done in the last 6 months. Have you gotten better, or have you gotten worse? Because there's no excuse out there. Because Josh has gotten a lot better and Tim's gotten a lot better. So what are you going to do? Make excuses or get angry as hell like I am and get better? That's all I got, Josh.
Boom. Tim, how can the listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can check out my website. Greg and I, we have a company called Cityside Capital, and the website is citysidecap.com. My email address is simply tim@citysidecap.com.
Well, listen, Tim, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest on the show and sharing your movers and shakers story. Now, guys, if you want to be the next guest on the show, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. And listen, if you like the show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a movers and shakers week. See you, everybody.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.